is coming in at third with 110 points. The big question is, can anyone catch Michael Stephen?
We've really put a big effort in, the whole team effort. We've got the car sorted, we've got the setup, in the ballpark, and, it's also been reliable. So, I think it's a combination of, everything that's gone together. It's, everything's just clicked. And hopefully we can keep going like that. But, it's going to have to come to an end at some stage. But we'll just keep working hard and, doing what we normally do.
Michael's far ahead. He's got his car tuned in. He's driving really, really well. So we need to step up our game. And hopefully Killarney is the place to do it. We need to stop him from winning, I think.
The drivers do seem relaxed in the mother city, with some much anticipated action coming from Killarney Raceway, which first saw action back in 1947. In 1960, the track was upgraded to conform to FIA standards and was then rewarded with the Cape Grand Prix on the 1st of January 1960. Race 2 in PE saw its fair share of rain and drama as Matthew Hodges and Henny Groenewald had a disagreement regarding defending of positions on track. And Gennaro Bonafide had a tricky race which cost him some valuable points. But the big winner of the day was without a doubt Michael Stephen, taking all 3 races in style and securing his top spot on the overall log.
I think we've won the last nine rounds that we've had in PE. So, the expectation is always to win at your home ground. We did do a little bit of testing before the race, so we certainly had the upper hand over there in terms of both testing and the weekend. So if we didn't win, we would have been disappointed.
Well, this is Cape Town, and it is the Killarney Raceway, and we're going to take a look at the graphic of the track there. 3.26 kilometres, 6 turns, an average speed of 150 kilometres per hour, top speed of about 220 down the long back straights, and full throttle for a massive 76.3% of the circuit in Cape Town. And an area of concern for the drivers under braking into Cape Town corners, the roots that grow under the track from the blue gum trees, creating massive bumps and making it difficult in the braking zone. Let's join Simon Moss for a hot lap of Killarney.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the third round of the Saddle GTC Championship. I'll be taking you on a lap around Killarney Raceway. Heading into turn 1, we're going approximately 210 km per hour, hard brake at about 90 meters. Change down to third, down to second, the late shift to second, double apex and power on, up to third, exiting at 140 km per hour, going straight down into a hard braking hairpin just before the bump on the left. Keep it, oh, turn it, there you go, oh, get on the gas, second gear, coming out, powering it on, all the way through to the little thing, just to shift to fourth. On the way down, a slight brake, downshift to third, turn it in, now front end grip on this Audi, turn it on the power, carrying on up to fourth, all the way down to the famous Malmsbury, one downshift to third, hit the apex, slight miss of the second apex, power it on all the way out, onto the back straight. A little bit of understeer on the second apex there, but that's where the pit lies to get the straight line. Speed into the final corner. The bank, late braking, 50 meter. On the brakes, hard on the brakes, just missing the first apex, climbing the bank, turning, and then you point at second gear and you boost all the way. That's a lap of Killarney Raceway with me, Simon Moss. See you at the next round. Woohoo!
It's tricky and it's challenging, and a man who knows the circuit like the back of his hand is the one and only Gary Famato. Killarney Raceway qualifying yesterday for Sasol GTC. No big surprise with Michael Stephen, but you've got to believe, Gary, that somewhere along the line, the likes of Gennaro Bonafide are definitely going to be pushing him hard today.
Well, there's no doubt. Look, Gennaro is on second for race 2, so it implies that he put two good laps together yesterday, but Simon Moss is in the fight there. I think we have a 3 or 4 way battle for the front today. It's very, very close. The gap is bunched up nicely since, Steppington, Swartkops, PE, and now here, a couple of tenths between the top 5 cars. It's nothing.
And also, you've got to look at the VW Jetters as well. I mean, Hodges and Nathan, I know Nathan had some problems yesterday, but those cars also looking pretty quick.
Yeah, look, they are fast. There's no two ways about it. I know there was a bit of a setup issue with Matthew. They tried something extreme for qualifying to see if it would work. It didn't really work for them. So you've got to believe, and I watched him out in the circuit throughout the weekend, trying hard. The car's looking good, really pushing hard. So I think in the race today we'll see, I don't think we're going to see a strung out race at all.
Looking at the Sasol GTC production car category, Gary, Daniel Rowe, definitely the man to beat. Gary, guy's doing an outstanding job. And I tell you, one of the tallest racing drivers in the world.
We seem to have them all here in South Africa. I don't know what it is, but yeah, look, driving very well. As you said, the man to beat. I think there's been some great scraps between him and Sean, and it's been quite an interesting battle because you've got Sean, who's the sort of established production car driver, sort of learnt his trade with the likes of Graham Nathan, myself and a couple of others, and now you've got Daniel Rowe that's come up from Polo Cup. So it's a great battle. But Daniel, I think so far has been more consistent. Sean and the Ford, I think, need to find some reliability.
Yeah, it's been interesting coming into the Golf. You know, it's a different car to the Polos, or faster, obviously. And I've come to grips with it quite fast, and I'm enjoying the racing with Sean. Yeah, I was quite aggressive in PE. I wasn't expecting that, so it's something new to get used to, I suppose. That's how he drives.
Gary, the disparity in the car is always going to be there because of the different nature in the cars, but my car's slightly quicker on the top. His car's very good in the bottom and through the tight stuff, so I thought it made for a good race. And that's what happened in P. I mean, we were close. I tried to get past him down the straight. I couldn't. In the second to last lap, I got past, and we touched going into turn one. That's racing. It doesn't really bother me too much. That's the way we used to race the production cars. He seemed to be a little peed off about it. He had a chat with Mr. Schechter, and I think all was sorted, and we had to race again and have some fun. But the racing was close. Unfortunately, my car had some issues in the last race, and I was way off the pace. But I think Cape Town's going to be extremely close.
Well, Gary, we got some good views there from Daniel Rowe and Sean Duminy, obviously leading the GTC Production Championship. Daniel Rowe in that Golf 7 GTI certainly being the class of the field over the initial parts of the season. And I know, speaking to him off the record, he came here very, very optimistic that he really hooks this circuit up pretty well.
Yeah, and he did so very, very well. In fact, out there in front, not to be challenged. And Daniel Rowe certainly the man to beat in this class. Sean Duminy, on the other hand, has had reliability issues plaguing him, and unfortunately here in Cape Town nothing has changed, so we don't see that ST up at the front fighting with Daniel, which we want to see because the two have had some fantastic scraps up until now.
Well, I guess the important thing is to understand the whole aim of GTC Production. It's really to be a feeder class between Volkswagen Cup and the main GTC class itself, and it's great to see drivers like Umtekane and Rowe mixing it out front with the established guys like Sean Duminy there. I think it's important to establish the class, and we've heard rumours and conjecture in the paddock that there are a couple of other guys interested in GTC Production for the future.
Yeah, let's hope it certainly is the case. But just looking at Daniel Rowe still way out in front there, Mandla Umtekane in second place in the being chased down by that BMW Z4, and of course Sean Duminy in that misfiring, I've got to say, Focus ST.
Yeah, I think it was a big issue for that team over the entire weekend. There was a big misfire on the car. It didn't quite seem to resolve itself in race 2, I think, if I'm not mistaken, that Sean Duminy did seem to have a race where it seemed to work out reasonably well for him. He set the fastest lap in that particular race, and it was quite close between all the cars. You know, we've got the older generation, can you call them production cars, mixing it with these newer generation GTC production cars. It's always a battle to try and match the performance of these cars.
It has been, but this was also a year that was going to be a transition year where we're going to sort of phase out the old and bring in the new cars, and the new cars have been very, very quick, which has been quite encouraging. I think the big plus here is the barrier to entry is significantly lower than it has been in production cars, and just showing that you don't lose much speed in building in the way that they are now being built.
Yeah, and I think in PE as well, we saw Charles Smallberger as well in that Golf 6 GTI, mixing it up in the front and getting a very, very good and well-deserved race win. But I think the story and the main thing for the GTC production races in Cape Town was, I think, as the press release headline said after the fact, 3 in a row for Daniel Rowe. A well-deserved and dominant race weekend win for him.
Yeah, essentially halfway through this championship now, and I've got to say it's hard to believe that anybody else is actually going to be able to challenge Daniel Rowe. It was going to be a big test for him coming up into production cars, and I think just acquitted himself so well, and just really, as we said earlier on, proven to be the man to beat, and I don't see anybody else challenging him soon.
Well, I think it really shows the Volkswagen Motorsport Development Project. We've seen Matthew Hodges make the step to GTC, and now we've seen Daniel Rowe obviously in GTC production, dominating GTC production there. And overall, you've got to say a great, dominant weekend for Daniel Rowe. 3 race wins in a row, pole positions, fastest laps. A really good way to cement his position at the top of the leaderboard in terms of GTC production. And then obviously Sean Duminy and Charles Smallberger, the top 3. Well, here we go into GTC race 1 at Killarney, and the man in pole position is the dominant force in GTC itself, Michael Stephen and Simon Moss, rounding out the front row there, Gary, you got to say, job well done so far for the man. Got 5 wins out of 5 at the moment.
Yeah, and for Simon Moss as well, who's second on the grid. And the big thing to look at here was the times. They were exceptionally close between all the front runners in GTC, and obviously making for a good race.
I've got to say, Gennaro Bonafide turned up for the books. You know, we thought that Johan Fourie was going to be the man for the BMW in Cape Town, but Gennaro Bonafide pulled out a fantastic lap. Then Matthew Hodges a bit further down the grid. He was quite fast in all the free practice sessions. We did not expect him there. We thought he was going to be higher up the grid. And obviously then bringing up in 6th position, we got Henny Groenewald with a 1 minute 19.1. Not quite on the pace of Gennaro, but a great performance nonetheless. And then Graham Nathan, a 1 minute 19.9. Power steering issues didn't allow him to set the fastest lap. And we saw that Graham was a bit closer to the front. Well, here we go. The cars coming, rounding Cape Town corner. Great weather, great crowd, a great circuit. One of the circuits that probably brings up the best racing of the entire year.
Yeah, it certainly does, with these 2 long straights, giving drivers the opportunity to slipstream, to overtake at the end in those braking zones. And as we ride along here now with Michael Stephen, just trying to get the jump on everybody, just playing with that accelerator, making sure the RPM is just correct, the power's where he wants it to be. And when those lights go out, he's going to try and get down to that first corner first.
Yeah, he's got to keep his left foot braking. If you watch his left foot, he's on the brakes, and now he comes off the brakes to make sure that the car is perfectly spooled up, the boost is ready to go. And Michael Stevens got a brilliant start. He managed that particularly well to get the jump on all the guys. He gets into turn 1 in the lead, and we've seen Michael basically get up and get out of there on lap 1 on the cold tires. He seems superbly able to manage that situation.
Yeah, I think that's been his big advantage this year, is in the way that he's been able to turn the tires on that first lap there. It is a very, very hard compound, and it requires a certain skill in order to get it right there. And we're looking at Johan Fourie now, just trying to find his way past Gennaro Bonafide. Always on the first lap, you're going to be looking for opportunities. The big thing is, yeah, are they going to hold each other up and create the opportunity for the 2 Audis to pull away? Once you break that toe, you've got problems.
Well, there Johan Fourie and Gennaro Bonafide side by side out of turn 4. It's going to be some really close racing. I can't remember when last, Gary, I've seen cars running side by side through turn 5 and onto the back straight. Normally guys would just run other people off the circuit. It is good close racing.
Yeah, the GTC regulations sort of prohibit that kind of driving, but I think working pretty well, and we'll hopefully see some of that today in Cape Town.
Well, we're in on board with Henny Groenewald, but I've got to say, I'm just impressed with Simon Moss. Simon seems to be man on a mission. Great racing in Port Elizabeth, but my word, he certainly is keeping Michael Stephen honest today.
Yeah, certainly is. And we just looked at Johan Fourie, unfortunately slowing down there, both Gennaro and Henny being able to pass him with ease. So unfortunately, things not working out and not working according to plan for Johan Fourie.
There we go. In terms of that, you look at Henny Groenewald running with Gennaro through turn 1. These cars are certainly much closer than they've been over the first couple of races. I think that the teams have lifted their games. I think the drivers are getting very, very comfortable with the cars. Oh, and unfortunately, we see Graham Nathan pulling off the circuit. We do believe it is drivetrain related issues, and a bit of a shame, because I think Graham was looking towards this race meeting to re-establish himself at the front of the GTC field.
Yeah, very, very unfortunate. I mean, they opened their account on the weekend very well. I think the first session, in fact, was second and third in the timing sheets. So yeah, not the result they were looking for.
I think Graham was always waiting to try and get the car more to his liking and more suited to his driving style. He did tell me afterwards that they had made some changes. His team, Stuart Thompson Racing and himself, made some much needed changes to the setup of the car, and he was feeling much more comfortable with the car. He was struggling with snap oversteer, but overall you've got to say that not quite the result that we're looking for from the team as of yet. Great shots there of Cape Town corner with the 2 Sasol BMW cars running line astern, but again a little bit behind the 2 Engine Extreme cars up front, and Simon Moss really putting pressure on Michael Stephen.
Yeah, Simon Moss, as you said, coming on strong, and I think the big question here is the team going to let them race door to door? With a championship lead like you've got, I don't think you've got too much to lose, but I think Simon also wanting to show everybody that he is a force to be reckoned with. We've spoken about it, we believe it is the case, but I think also a situation of him being able to eventually bring home that win is going to create miracles for him.
Well, Gary, let's talk tyres. We do know that we opted for a conservative specification of tyre to try and ensure that we've got longevity and life duration and durability on the tyres. However, you've got to say that we are seeing some incredible lap times from these guys in the race. typically equaling their qualifying lap times. It really goes to show that the tyres just get better and better as every single lap goes on, and that Cape Town circuit, the actual surface laid down, it does not really put a huge stress and loading onto these tyres.
No, not at all. You know, certainly looking good, but you've got to say it is down to the tyre being a very, very good tyre. You know, although being a hard tyre, it's still giving the drivers the amount of feedback that they want under the braking in the corners. But I think also the drivers are starting to understand just how hard they can actually lean on them and start to utilise the tyre to its maximum.
Well, important strategic consideration for these guys. The fastest lap in this race determines the grid for race 3. So you've got to try and get into that toe, make sure you're not held up too much, don't take too much out of the tyres, and then try and put that single lap down, because it really is very important, because it will determine how good your race weekend is, the all-important race 3.
So, of course, a strategy that needs to be thought of in this first race of the day. And I think, you know, Simon Moss, if you're looking at him here, in that position, as you said, Vic, I mean, in Cape Town, it makes a massive difference when you're able to get a car that is on the same pace as you, but also being able to tow you around, just like Michael is doing right now.
Yeah, Michael controlling the race from the front like he's done for virtually the entire season up to this particular point, and Simon really keeping me honest, but he is in the perfect position to benefit from those very powerful tows that we see prevalent from this particular race circuit. Remember, qualifying was an 18.6, but looking at Simon Moss now, we do know and we see coming up on screen that essentially he's setting the fastest lap time lap after lap after lap, and in fact going nearly a tenth or two quicker than qualifying. Quite superb driving. Yeah,
excellent driving. You may wonder, you may be saying to yourself, well, he's a quicker car, why is he not able to then pass Michael Stephen? It's one thing being as quick or a little bit quicker, but then to actually put the move on somebody and outbrake them is a significant challenge.
And I think importantly as well to try and hit those brake markers at the end at Cape Town corner and turn 2. We know the track is very, very bumpy there, Gary, so you don't want to take too many chances, too many risks. If you just get your brake marker that 1 or 2 meters too late, you're going to run wide, leave the door open, and then you're going to be passed.
Exactly, yeah. It's just all about using your brake markers, and that sort of is about being one of the top drivers in the country, you know, being able to race like this under pressure from somebody from behind, and keeping it neat and tidy, not allowing your competitor past.
Yeah, the setup of those Audi cars certainly look particularly good. You know, they're hitting their brake markers, getting into the apex of the corners, not looking too worried in terms of getting the traction out of the corners. So a great job. We do know that the Terry Moss Racing team has done some intensive development work, intensive testing in the lead up to these races. They've certainly done all their homework.
Yeah, they certainly have. Came out the box flying, and they continue to fly still today. And as you said, the car's pointing well and getting into the corners, and I think that's key. You know, a lot of people are complaining about understeer. Of course, that does cost you time. They don't seem to be having that kind of problem.
Now, remember, these cars have the Albans gearbox, the trans-axial gearbox. That's exactly as used in the Australian V8 Supercar Championship, using a spool differential, and that basically means it's a lock diff. So to try and get it into these corners, to turn it, to brake and turn, is a massive challenge. And it certainly looks like these top 3-4 cars have done an excellent job in terms of preparing the cars, getting them there, and making sure that the drivers are as comfortable as possible. These top guys are certainly the best drivers in the country.
Yeah, you know what's happening now in GTC is that the times, as we said, on the grid are becoming so close now that to be able to win these races, you're not looking for masses of time anymore. You're looking for a tenth or two here or there, and that finest sort of fine-tuning in setup now is really coming to the fore.
Well, you saw in qualifying the top 6 cars probably separated by less than half a second. I think in reality you're probably looking at a tenth in differential per car on the grid. And I mean, Gary, at 0.1 of a second on 3.2 kilometers of circuit like the Killarney race circuit is, it is not a lot. So these guys are going to be on top of the game, cannot make a single error on those qualifying laps, and especially so in the races.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're looking at a couple of hundredths per corner just to make up that difference, which is absolutely nothing at all. As we see Michael Stephen, Simon Moss just out front there, and Simon Moss just trying to find his way past, looking for that slipstream to be able to get up onto Michael's bumper and make a move.
Well, the Sassel BMW cars are certainly closer than they've been in the recent past. Gennaro Bonafide and Henny Groenewald trying to get onto terms with the engine extreme Audis there, and Simon Moss going off the circuit on the straight there to try and get it and straight line it as much as possible. I guess you don't want to put steering input into the straight to try and get the top speed.
Yeah, just obviously looking to maximize everything. Another unfortunate letdown for the VW team. Matthew Hodges also coming down the straight very, very slowly.
Yeah, it wasn't quite the result that they wanted, but here we go, the Engine Extreme cars. Great camera angles down the straight here. I think we're starting our last lap here overall, and Michael Stephen just going to make sure he brings it home now. Just be a little bit more conservative on the brakes. Don't make any issues. Just make sure you hit those markers particularly well. Not too much input onto the brake pressure sensors, because essentially one small snatch of the brakes and that's your entire race's work gone out the window. So Michael Stephen is notorious for not making any errors when he's up front there, and great driving from there, but a really improvement from the rest of the cars behind him.
Yeah, certainly so. As we looked at Sir Simon Moss here, you can see under acceleration, just fighting that slight oversteer, trying to keep that car straight to maximize the traction as they go now into Malmesbury, which is turn 5, and another opportunity for him to possibly overtake if he gets it clean through here. Slightly wider through there. It's going to cost him a bit of time going down the straight.
Well, Gary, I've been watching Simon Moss over the entire weekend. He wasn't too concerned about the apexes in turn 5 there. He was just simply superb, hooked it up. It didn't really matter if the car was at the apex or in the middle of the road. When he put the power down, the car just hooked up and got out of there.
Yeah, and that is so important, in particular for Cape Town, as we said, with these long straights. You know, you can almost forego a little bit of front end on the exit of the corner to make sure you've got the traction down these straights.
Well, there you go, on the final lap now, and we are in car with Michael Stephen taking the checkered flag, making it 6 out of 6, championship leader, favourite, and the guy on pole position. The only thing he didn't get to round up the entire race package here was essentially Simon Moss getting the pole position and the fastest lap for this particular race itself, and then he got the pole position for race 3. So great job for Simon, probably looking at race 3 to try and cement a position and to get the elusive first race win. But you're really looking at the man on a mission, Michael Stephen, winning race 1 with Simon Moss second and Gennaro Bonafide in third position.
And he was followed home by Henry Groenewald, his teammate, and then Daniel Rowe was the winner in the GTC production.
Round 3, race 1, Sasol GTC, action-packed and incident-filled. But Michael Stephen, Gary, taking another victory, but not as comfortable as one would have thought.
No, I don't think so. Look, I mean, from what I saw, Simon was catching in the latter part of the race and actually had a go at one stage and maybe got covered up by his teammates a little bit. So I think, look, we're going to get a different winner. It's just a matter of when now. I mean, it's about to happen. So, and Gennaro wasn't too bad. You know, I think opening laps hurt him in terms of staying with the two Audis, but you know, I think he's there as well.
I'll tell you, hometown favourite Jan Ferree was really going for it, got up the inside of Gennaro Bonafide, but unfortunately a little bit of an incident between the two.
Yeah, look, I mean, it's an opening lap. Everybody's going to try and overtake. You know, you want to try and get through as quickly as you can, but you know, just a little bit too close, and I think, you know, injured one of the tyres, and that was that for the race. But it was looking good until then, you know, and I think that also hurt Gennaro in terms of staying with the Audi. So I realised when I saw the two of them get together, it was going to make life easy for the two engine cars.
We're going to call you Mr. Michael Unbeatable Stephen. Michael, terrific race 1 here in Cape Town, but you got to admit it was a little closer than maybe you would have liked.
Yeah, I know, you know, great result, but you know, the guys are getting closer. Great job from Simon. He also, you know, kept the pressure on right till the end, and it wasn't plain sailing, so happy with the outcome.
Difficult weekend so far, Gary, for the VW Jetta team. Both of their cars not finishing the first race.
No, unfortunately lost drive in both cars at various parts of the race. So, you know, obviously very, very disappointing. And the cars struggled this weekend a little bit. I think very disappointing in qualifying. I know Matthew tried a lot of different setups, didn't work for him. And, you know, just a tough weekend continues.
We managed to catch up with VW Motorsport boss Mike Rowe to explain exactly what happened to both of the Jettas.
Yeah, we know for sure that Graham Nathan's car has broken a prop shaft. We're not sure about Matthew's car, but it's also lost drive. So it's either in prop shaft or clutch related. So very disappointing. So we'll see. Hopefully we can get them going for race 2 and go from there.
Let's hope that the VW Jettas are going to be able to take part in the next 2 races right here at Killarney. But we did have winners. Michael Stephen, 6 out of 6. Can you believe it? But riding his tail was Simon Moss in the Sasol GTC Championship. Race 1 was terrific, but race 2 gives us a completely different dynamic, Gary. For the first time, we've got somebody other than Michael Stephen on pole. It's all up to Gennaro Bonafide.
It is. I think a lot of people are quite excited this morning to see that grid shake-up actually happening. I think there's two things here. You know, Simon Moss is also in it. So now with Gennaro being out in front, I think we're really going to see a tight race. Because I've got to believe that Michael has a slight upper hand in terms of his pace. So I think it's going to be a freight train at the front of the field.
The big question is, are we going to have a new winner in the Sasol GTC Championship?
All right, here we go. This is a race 2 grid that we're looking at in a turn-up for the books. Gennaro Bonafide on pole position, showing a clean pair of heels to the four-man of the series, Gary. You've got to say that we're really looking forward to see if Gennaro can convert this pole position into a race win.
Yeah, very, very important for Gennaro and the entire team. I think have been knocking on the door. I think P was very, very quick. As we saw, he did lose the car there. But starting from pole, got a great opportunity. Now it's up to him to convert it.
Well, here we go. The start of the race coming down to turn 1. And Gennaro Bonafide having a very, very good start at the initial part of the race there. He just got the jump on Michael Stephen and looking to have a good traction out of the corner. The cars certainly look to be very well balanced, hitting the apex of the corner, good traction. He's not fighting the car. And I think it's important that first lap we're looking for the gap for these guys.
Yeah, if you look at Michael Stevens, been very strong in doing it all season, and Gennaro I think knows what is required now, and the first lap needs to be clean, smooth, and try and make a gap. What he's got to try and do is try and break the toe down the long straight here, because that's obviously where the overtaking opportunities are going to be.
Yeah, we've seen on the Killarney race circuit there's 2 very long straights. It's very powerful for these guys because they will hold on. Gennaro showing a great pair of heels through these corners, turn 5 into the old what we called Malmesbury corner onto the back straight. The cars are reaching 215 to 220 kilometers an hour, and Gennaro Bonafide looks to be a man on the mission, showing a clean pair of heels to the Engine Extreme Audi cars.
Yeah, and Michael Stevens not only got Gennaro Bonafide in front of him to try and chase down, but of course he's got his teammate too, who's also flying this weekend right up behind him there. So this could turn out to be a great battle for the lead. And we see the front 3 starting to edge away.
Yeah, and you're looking at Gennaro. It's very important. He's got to be neat and tidy. Hit the brake marker coming into turn 1. Very, very important to hit that brake marker spot on. Try not to lock the wheels. Looking on towards Gennaro from Simon Moss's car. A great pair hitting the apex quite well. Simon Moss, Michael Stephen in close attendance. It's going to be a tough race for that Sasol BMW car to try and keep that lead and to ensure that we get a different winner for the first time this year.
Yeah, and a lot riding on board with Michael Stephen going into turn 2, and Simon Moss actually getting it all wrong going in there. And this is going to give Michael Stephen an opportunity to get up the inside, going down into turn 4.
We haven't seen a good race meeting thus far for the Volkswagen cars, but a great initial couple of laps there from Matthew Hodges. It looks to be a fantastically close race up front as well. Gennaro showing that clean pair of heels coming through turn 5. But if you look at that, you've got a Volkswagen Jetta, a BMW, and of course, a big spin there for Graham Nathan coming out of Malmesbury. Not quite what you want to try and achieve if you're looking for good results, Gary.
Absolutely, Graham. Obviously just trying to get out of the corner, as quick as possible, carrying a little bit too much speed there, losing the back end of that Jetta, and unfortunately now taking himself right out of the race.
Yeah, we're coming into Cape Town corner. We've got Matthew Hodges up front, followed by Johan Fourie, and we've got the grandstand seating position from car number 8, Henny Groenewald, and it looks to be a very close race. And the BMWs initially this season seem to lack a little bit of horsepower, but I can't see evidence of that here today, Gary.
Well, exactly. We're seeing some close racing with Gennaro Bonafide, one of them out in front, doing a great job. Johan Fourie diving up the inside, and Matthew Hodges going into turn 1 there, only leaving just enough room, and that's just what it's all about. Close racing. Henny Groenewald now looking for a way through there. Can he keep it up on the inside there, but just maybe losing a little bit coming out of turn 1, not putting him in a position to outbrake going into turn 2.
Yeah, then Henny dives to the outside, trying to get the undercut from Johan Fourie, but Johan is wise to those ways. He's hit the apex quite well, and then important to get a good traction out of turn 2, running through the kink. We've seen some of the guys sometimes even straight lining that kink, but all the drivers well behaved this weekend, and you've got to say, actually putting on a fantastic show for all the spectators.
Yeah, there really was some good racing all the way down the field. Not many cars, but the cars that were there put up some good racing for everybody in Cape Town. Another bumper crowd. Cape Town absolutely packed as well. So, people coming out to see GTC in force.
Well, you see Johan Fourie onto Matthew Hodges. Is he going to try and come out of the slipstream there? Looking on from Henny Groenewald's car. It certainly looks like it. Johan Fourie taking the braking position there. cars are running a little bit up towards the top of the circuit there, and maybe that's allowing the guys to actually pass, Gary.
Well, it's certainly creating an opportunity for them. The door is open up there, but Johan did have a good run down that straight, and pretty classic out-braking move on Matthew Hodges. But now Matthew tucked up right behind him. Johan covering the line, going into turn 1 now. And Matthew just not close enough now to mount a challenge.
But it's great to see close racing. A lot of guys were expecting, and I think we came to the Cape Town circuit expecting the very difficult and very close racing. These guys are evenly matched. The cars are certainly looking like they're all on the same sort of level. Qualifying was very, very, very close. Looking again into turn 2, and Matthew Hodges coming up the inside of Johan Fourie. Johan just ran a bit wide under braking there. The guys are not leaving anything or any margin of safety there. They are braking as late as they possibly can.
Well, you can certainly see that collecting it up. You're quite right. I think the drivers really becoming comfortable with the cars here as the race continues, going into turn 5. Matthew Hodges on the inside there, and you're going to run it through the Johan Fourie, probably doing the sensible thing, tucking in behind and setting himself for another move at the end of the straight.
Yeah, he wants to get into the slipstream of Matthew's car, and he's right up behind the rear bumper of Matthew. And we have seen that in terms of slipstreaming, nearly 5 k's an hour difference that these cars can get. And Johan jumps to the inside of the circuit, makes sure he runs Matthew Hodges a little bit wide, and great driving, local knowledge definitely coming to the fore there.
Yeah, and Johan also pretty good on the brakes there, one of the bravest guys out there, and we can see the battle continues as we go past the start-finish straight there. But out in front, Gennaro Bonafide created that gap as we spoke about in the beginning, and this has given him comfort now. Now he's got to focus on just keeping it right at every corner, at every lap, not out-braking himself, getting it off the corners cleanly to maintain that gap.
Yeah, importantly, and I think the Engine Extreme Audi is really challenging each other. It's great to see that the team is allowing Simon Moss to run Michael Stephen as close as possible, because this is what's really important. The crowd out here want to see close racing. They want to see teammates basically out-braking each other and passing each other as much as possible. And the driver conduct rules, Gary, I must say, a lot of guys were not so sure about it, but after watching the racing that we've seen in race 1 and now in race 2, it's spot on.
I think it's spot on, and I think also you just got to commend the drivers for racing the way they are. They're leaving in their opposition room, putting on a great show, and also not dragging home damaged cars back to the pits in every session or every race. So I think a great effort from everybody concerned.
Very important to hit that apex well, so you can get the power down all the way down the straight here, and you can see that Matthew Hodges is trying to get back at Johan Fourie, and Henny Groenewald in close attendance as well, just making sure that he's in the position to pick up the pieces if anything comes to tears there. A great shot into Cape Town corner. Remember, it's slightly banked, allowing the guys to be a bit more aggressive on the throttle to come out of that corner. It's really some great visual shots.
Yeah, and also interesting to see, a lot of drivers taking some different lines around that corner throughout the weekend, just trying to find the best way out of there, as you said, onto this long straight. Looking at Gennaro again out in front, doing a great job. I think a lot of people biting their nails right now. The first different winner for the season. I know it's a big day for Sasa, a lot of people out there as well, and they want Gennaro Bonafide to bring this car home.
Yeah, I think a lot of guys, and I think actually the GTC fan, the GTC crowds are looking for that variety and a new winner, but Gennaro's been on it this entire weekend. I think we mentioned at the last race when he got that, he did that fantastic race 3 in the wet, sniping at Johan Fourie's rear bumper throughout the entire race. You've got to say that maybe that glass ceiling, as you're talking about, that first win is vitally important.
Yeah, it certainly is from a confidence point of view, and Gennaro now looking very, very comfortable out there in front, but also just managed to break that toe slightly, and that was critical. You can see now the two engine toes in each other's slipstream there and starting to position for a move.
Certainly so, and we've got to say that I must really take my hat off to, well, there we go, a bit of an out-braking maneuver. The car ran wide all the way up to the top of the embankment, and Simon Moss slips in there. He's really shown some great skill this weekend.
No, he has. I think the last 2 weekends, I think, P as well, we saw that Simon was really on it, and another great weekend for him there. And that's always, we talk about being comfortable out in front. Michael Stephen actually out-braking himself and creating that opportunity for Simon to get past, who's obviously clean and brake the right place going through the corner.
And now I think, can they close the gap to Gennaro? It's really important that you're going to hit your brake markers. These cars look very, very skittish over the bumps. Quite bumpy in this area, Gary. You've got to hit that brake marker spot on.
Well, you've got to hit spot on, and again, there we see now Simon Moss is returning the favour for Michael Stevens. Just getting it, going in there slightly too hot, going wide, and now giving his team an opportunity to overtake, going down into turn 4.
Yeah, you know what? We've always been waiting for great racing, and we knew it wasn't far away. These cars are so evenly matched at the moment, and Michael Stephen has got up from 3rd position into P2, obviously trying to close the gap to Gennaro and try and make it 7 race wins out of 7. But you've got to say that the Sasol BMW GTC car out front there seems to be showing these guys a clean pair of heels. A good turn up for the books.
Yeah, certainly so, and pretty exciting times to have a different win up there, but pretty uneventful for Gennaro in terms of his race there. As we look at Henry Groenewald now, looking for Matthew Hodges, trying an opportunity, and he does find an opportunity, the smallest of opportunities, but makes it work for himself.
Well, get out of my way, Matthew Hodges, I'm coming through. Yeah, it was Henry Groenewald with a great opportunistic passing manoeuvres into Cape Town corner. I think if you really look at the two corners on this circuit, you've got to say Cape Town corner is probably one of the prime setup points to pass guys here.
Yeah, it definitely is, but that was a great move from Henny. I think, realised that the line was being covered going into the corner, and as the gap opened up there, let the car roll in slightly quicker and made that move on Matthew. So I think a lot of experience coming through there from Henny.
Well, into the closing stages of race 2 at the Killarney racetrack. Great weather, great crowd, and great racing to cap it off. You've got to say that we're really looking to Gennaro Bonafide, probably adopting a slightly conservative approach now in these last couple of laps. Hit your brake markers, don't run wide, make sure the car does not oversteer on the exit, and so far nearly job accomplished.
Well, nearly job accomplished. Obviously a nervous time in any race when you're out in front at this point, and as you quite rightly said, they're just I think in a comfortable position. Does lost any possibility of being towed down the straight there by one of the Audis, and now just has to keep it on the island basically and keep it neat and tidy.
I think that was the key to the success, that very first lap on cold tires, making the break and getting away from the tow so that he could actually run his own race, be as easy and as comfortable as possible. And looking to, as he exits Cape Town corner, we're on board with Gennaro, very ecstatic, very happy, and great news for GTC and the Sasol BMW GTC team. Great stuff, Gennaro Bonafide. Congratulations, a second winner in the GTC Championship.
Yeah, well, certainly lots of happiness in that team and for Sasol themselves. There we have it, Gennaro Bonafide, followed home by Michael Stephen and Simon Moss.
Race 2, round 3, Killarney Raceway left us with a scintillating spectacle and a brand new winner, the man Gennaro Bonafide for the Sasol Extreme BMW team. What a drive, Gary.
Yeah, it was a great drive. I think everybody in the team was really hoping that this was going to happen. Started from pole, made perfect use of it, and this is an important one. I think we've seen Gennaro win one now. I'm going to see him winning a couple of more.
Gennaro, the monkeys off the back. What a superb drive. You kept it cool, calm and collected. You know those guys were going to be quick, but my word, that was a superb win.
Yeah, look, I'm over the moon. All the hard work that everyone's done, the Sasol GTC team, the BMW was on fantastic form today. And you know what, I knew starting on pole I had a good chance. I just had to get a good start, and thankfully I did. First couple laps, I put my head down, and I could see in the back of my mind, Michael and Simon were fighting a little bit. I thought, okay, this is it. I made a couple of mistakes, but wow.
With a lap to go, was there any doubt in your mind? Was there anything going through your head going, my word, just don't mess this up?
Look, I mean, yeah, I think so. Michael's won all the races so far, and I think to be the first one to beat him is fantastic, and we've got a win in GTC, which is amazing. But yeah, I think the second last lap, they went in together side by side into the bottom, and I thought, okay, head down, 2 more laps to go. Let's get this home, let's bring it home. And then I didn't even realize it was the last lap until I got the checkered flag.
Well, I tell you, looking forward, you got to watch out for the Audis, especially in this race. But the man to watch, Simon Moss on pole.
Exactly. I mean, got to get into the first corner first, and I think try and do what Gennaro did, try and open up a bit of a gap. However, he's got his teammate and Gennaro who's now can smell another victory right behind him.
The action is about to begin.
Well, here we go, race 3 about to start, the final race of the day. And again, we got Simon Moss on pole position with Michael Stephen in second position. You got to say, Gary, it's Simon's best opportunity to date to try and convert that pole position into a race win.
Well, he'd seen Gennaro Bonafide do it early on in the day, so he knows it's certainly possible. It's all about not making mistakes. And again, we get back to the first lap. How quick is he going to be able to turn the tyres on and open up that lead if he can?
Well, it certainly looks so. And obviously, Simon Moss is in pole position. Car number 38 is in the front of the field and trying to convert that pole position into P1 in the first corner, and he's 100% correct in doing that. And we are on board with Henny Groenewald. It's really close quarters racing. Oh, big oversteer there for Henny. I don't know how he held that one, Gary.
That was a monster one for him, but managed to hold on to it. And as we looked at Gennaro Bonafide, Michael Stephen getting together, getting busy there, that's the kind of thing Simon Moss is looking for, hoping those two are going to trip themselves up on this opening lap.
Well, Henny obviously on the apex coming out of turn 2, but we see the line astern of the two engine extreme cars with Gennaro Bonafide and Johan Fourie right up there in close attendance. This really looks like you could literally throw a blanket all over these cars. This is what it is, close racing from the top drivers in the country in the top formula of the country.
Yeah, and we see that freight train starting to now develop as we're coming to the end of this opening lap. On the run, Graham Nathan tearing that VW Jetta apart. They're just taking too much curb on the exit of turn 5 Malmesbury and ripping that back bump off. And that's going to hurt him aerodynamically down these straights.
Yeah, exactly so, and we know that there's a massive and a powerful slipstream effect in place on these particular circuits coming into Cape Town corner. Michael Stephen going up the inside of Simon Moss. We've seen huge opportunities at passing at the circuit, and especially between these engine extreme drivers. They're not leaving anything behind.
Well, Michael is going to be positioned on the outside going into turn 1. I think now it comes down to who's going to be able to get onto the brakes latest. Can Michael hang on around the outside of his teammate there? And this time not. Looks like he's going to probably have to tuck in behind and have a look later.
Well, there you got Michael Stephen running side by side with Simon Moss. You had Gennaro Bonafide running side by side with Johan Fourie. These guys have certainly got absolutely close, breathtaking racing here. Simon still holding onto that lead, but running wide again. But Gary running wide there. He's got Michael Stephen on his inside, and Gennaro is going to have a great run down into turn 4.
Well, Gennaro's got to tuck it up underneath Michael Stephen here, we can see, and just get in on there with late braking there, right up to Michael Stephen's bumper, and has overtaken Simon Moss.
And I would assume that you'll probably find Johan Fourie is going to try and do the same into turn 5. But Simon seems to have a bit of a problem there. We believe that he does have a few issues, but Gennaro now has got to try and pin his ears back and try and hunt down Michael Stephen in front of him.
You know, that engine out is still looking quick. If you look on the left-hand side of Gennaro's car, still right there, Johan Fourie now tucking himself up underneath Gennaro's car. He's going to use the toe to try and get past Simon. It's all going to happen down into the corner.
Well, there you got Johan Fourie right there. You've got Matthew Hodges sometimes trying to get 3 cars astern, and obviously Graham Nathan as well. Gee whiskers, that is close racing.
Yeah, certainly looking good in the GTC race here. We can see Henny now trying to go past Simon Moss as well. And it looks like whatever that problem is starting to take effect and slow Simon down.
Well, watching ahead from Henny Groenewald's cars, we've got the 2 Volkswagen Jettas line astern into turn 1 with Matthew Hodges and a slightly beaten down car from Graham Nathan trying to hold on to Johan Fourie and Gennaro Bonafide. Unbelievably close racing here. The 2 BMWs are certainly starting to eke their way forward towards car number 12, championship leader Michael Stephen.
Yeah, and although you'd expect third place to be a good one there, lots of oversteer from Simon. He's trying to hang on to it with whatever he's got going on in that car there. But Johan Fourie is not going to be happy with the third place. You know, I know Johan, and he came into this event as the hometown hero. So, you know, he's going to try and do something. This is his last opportunity for today to do it.
Well, I think he was actually quite fast in race 2, Gary. He probably, I think if I was right, he had about the 4th fastest lap there. Really good pace from the car. So we're expecting that Johan is going to come on strong as the race goes on. These guys are certainly making the tyres last. Remember, you only allowed 1 set of tyres for qualifying and all 3 races. So normally you would expect that there would be some sort of tyre wear as the race wears on. But these guys are just getting quicker and quicker and quicker. Great news for all the fans out there. Great news for the Dunlop tyres that are certainly seeming to do the job that these guys want from them.
Yeah, they certainly are doing a good job there. We're riding along again with Simon Moss now as he calls up to one of the Jettas. Looks like the hassle may be a little intermittent, which is quite frustrating, and you know, trying to find his way and make himself back up the field. You've got to feel frustration there with knowing that his pace is certainly far better than the position he's in right now.
Well, you saw Simon drawing to the inside of the Jetta coming into turn 1. Didn't quite make it stick, but a very aggressive driving from Simon Moss, and now positioning his car to the inside for turn 2 and definitely getting on the inside. I think that is Graham Nathan there. Sorry, it was Matthew Hodges, but whoa, Simon really fighting that car. A bit of oversteer on the exit like we saw the lap before, but I don't think Simon is scared of a bit of oversteer.
Not at all. And going in there, not too bad either. You can see him collecting it up on the braking there. The car was right on the edge of the braking. It'll be back at the front of the field now with Michael Stephen going to turn 5, followed by Gennaro Bonafide. Johan Fourie, that gap certainly looks like it is closing.
It certainly is closing. It looks like the BMWs have a bit of the measure of the Audi. They're a little bit quicker in sectors 1 and 2, and sectors 1 and 2 end at the exit of Malmesbury, and then a little bit of a gap develops around sector 3. But great racing. That's what you want. Cars faster at different parts of the circuit, and the gap just closes and moves forward, backwards as the lap goes on. But it's great racing, and overall, you've got to say Michael Stephen can't afford to relax.
I certainly can't. Let's hope we stay with Michael for a while here. Just look how comfortable he is in that car, and look at the steering input on the steering wheel there. If we could stay with him around the corners, I've seen it over the weekend there. Michael has things well balanced in that Audi.
Yeah, we did see Michael's and Gennaro's qualifying lap data into turn 1, turn 2. It was almost watching the same driver in the same car. It's amazing to think it's a BMW versus an Audi and two different drivers, but it was very, oh my word, that was a massive, massive spin for Graham Nathan.
Yeah, so what happened there? Graham trying to get on the power early as we come out of turn 1 there, runs up onto the curb, which is a lot bigger than it looks here on TV, and just grabbing the car and throwing it around. So another off for Graham, and just trying to make that car go as quick as it can, and getting it wrong.
You know, Gary, I feel for Graham. He came here with very high hopes, and he had certainly made progress with his car. Stuart Thompson Racing himself had certainly moved that car forward, and I was really looking forward to a strong race for Graham. Just unfortunately, this reliability issues hurting his progress.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, an unfortunate weekend for the entire team there, and I know Graham well, having raced with him the last couple of years. He's a competitive man, and he's not unused to winning, that's for sure.
Well, so this gap at the front is closing up here, and you can see Gennaro and Johan getting closer to Michael Stephen. It does look like, if we're looking at that, you can say that we're on for a grandstand finish in the last couple of laps.
Yeah, well, let's hope it's going to be the case, and that's what we want to see. It's about motor racing and about action at the front, and cars going in at hammer and tongs. But Michael Stephen, you can see in that very familiar position now, just a slight advantage over everybody else, comfortable enough to just really put the car where he wants it and make sure things work out.
Well, the one thing I can tell you about Michael, after competing with him for many, many seasons, he does not make a mistake. So if you're going to pass him, you've got to be substantially faster and pull off a brilliant, brilliant maneuver. But great job there from Michael Stephen and Gennaro Bonafide following him, and Johan Fourie. We are really expecting a great finish. Remember, this race is 2 laps longer than the other ones that we've had. It is a 10-lap race, so maybe the guys behind are just waiting for Michael's tyres to go off and then mounting an attack.
Well, as you've spoken about the tyres, they are good there. I think the big thing here is driver fitness as well, but I have to say that every single one of these drivers going into this GTC season has put a tremendous amount of effort into their fitness, and that's where you start to see as drivers get tired. It's very hot in these cars, make mistakes, but as I say, all these guys are really on top of their game here. So between the first 3-4 cars, that may not be a possibility.
Well, if I look further behind Johan there, you see Simon Moss really starting to close the gap again and coming back into reckoning with this fight for the top 4. Maybe there's a podium still available out there for Simon Moss, but a great job from him, and a great race weekends that we've seen for these two cars.
Yeah, absolutely, and as we see Gennaro got the lights on the car as well there, perhaps trying to hassle Michael Stephen somewhat, but I don't think it's going to actually work, not to a man like Michael Stephen in any event. But as we can just see, line perfect. All these drivers now just really slogging it out. Everybody waiting for that opportunity, for an overtaking opportunity, and it's only going to come from the driver in front of you making a mistake, and these guys aren't making any mistakes there, so it's just 1 for 1 as they reel off the laps.
Well, a very similar balance for those top 4 cars, Gary. They certainly look like they've got a bit of an oversteer characteristic coming out of turn 1. There's a bit of drift in those cars, so whoever's looking out there trying to find what should be the optimum setup for these cars, just watch these top 4.
Yeah, exactly, and Johan Fourie probably with a little more oversteer than anybody else there, but obviously well in control, but of course we know the fastest way is the smoothest way around the circuit, as we are seeing Michael Stephen going through Malmesbury, followed by Gennaro Bonafide, also looking super smooth.
Well, the one thing I can say, when you do speak to Johan Fourie, he has a view on car setup, and that is loose is fast. So essentially, you don't want to bog the car down, you want to move it as forward and in straight lines as much as possible. But great driving from these top 4. Gary, looking at the qualifying data, we saw that guys were pulling 1.9 Gs lateral and 1.4 Gs under braking. This is serious racing speed.
No, look, it is. It's a serious racing car, and I think we've still got a lot to go in the car. There's Michael Stephen takes another victory in the GTC Championship, followed by Gennaro Bonafide, Johan Fourie and Simon Moss.
Yeah, I think it was a great recovery drive from Simon Moss, and really we're now waiting for Simon to get that maiden win in terms of GTC races. I think it's just around the corner, and fantastic to see the BMWs up front. But in terms of championship position, Gary, Michael Stephen out in front, followed by Gennaro Bonafide.
Yeah, and the big mover for the weekend for me, Simon Moss, moving himself up to 3rd place in that championship, just showing what a good weekend can do for you.
Couple of little issues in terms of gearing, but you came back firing in race 3. Tell us how it went for you.
Yeah, it was a fantastic race to bounce back from race 2. Not that we were unhappy in race 2. I mean, Gennaro had a good race and a well-deserved win. But it's always nice to come back and win the final race of the day.
And now also, the guys seem to be getting a little closer.
No, the competition's fierce. You know, the guys are right there. And even that last race, I don't know how many laps the race was, but I had to push every single lap. And, you know, a small mistake and Gennaro would have been right there. Unfortunate for Simon, something went wrong with his car. So I think he would have been in the fight for the win as well. But, you know, that's motor racing, and I'm sure he'll bounce back. But, yeah, looking forward to the next rounds.
You got one win today in the final race of the day, Gennaro. You got a second, but I tell you, that was an incredible drive.
Yeah, look, that was a very, very nice drive. I think a nice race as well. Yes, it's just so close, you know. Michael just doesn't make mistakes, and I was trying to put the pressure on, but I also had Johan behind me. So the first few laps of the race was very, very tricky. We good racing, I think, for sure, and then it's just a little bit. But listen, Sash, I'm over the moon. I think it's been a fantastic weekend.
But you also must be feeling good that you're not that far off the Audis now.
Yeah, for sure. Listen, this weekend we made a big step. Myself and Vic have been working very closely together, and we've managed to make some changes, and a little bit step by step we've made positive steps. So I'm very happy. The Sasol GTC team's done a fantastic job. It's great to bring a win home. I'm very happy about that. You know what I mean? It's nice. The monkey's off.
Yeah, we're definitely getting there. Every time you're going out in the car, you're learning a little bit more, and you're getting it right. So yeah, just if we can do a proper day of testing and without a misfire or anything, then I think we'll get it quicker. But yeah, if we can just do a proper run, we work on the setup, and now over a long race distance, you can see that the car's falling off towards the end, where the other guys seem to go stronger. So we got some homework to do, but we're looking forward to that.
Simon Moss, you started off from pole. First lap looked terrific, and then what happened?
Yeah, I started from pole. Honestly, I wanted to go for the win. On the warm-up lap, it all started. Went out in the warm-up lap. I think it was through turn 2. My dashboard started flashing, low battery, low flashy. And I thought, oh no, please don't do this to me now. And it happened that the alternator failed. I don't know how I didn't notice it after the first race. Nothing from then. Everything was perfect. And straight out on a warm-up lap, alternators failed. So from there on, I pushed as hard as I could. I had a little bit of a misfire, obviously, as the battery got more and more flat. And carried on, and it got a little bit better. And I think it was 4 laps from the end, I just lost complete power steering. Obviously everything's operating off the battery, and then my shifting as well. Luckily 300 meters before the line I got stuck into 5th gear, and then I just stayed in there. So luckily I could get back to the pits. One more lap and I was in the pits. I would have been doomed.
What spectacular racing. In the sense, Gary, those BMWs getting much closer to the Audis. And I've got to say, Gennaro Bonafide drove 3 impeccable races today.
He did, and we spoke about it before the start of the third heat. I think he needed that win. I think we're going to see more. He was really challenging Michael. His car was certainly fast in certain areas, Michael in others. That's what you get when you have tight racing like this. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens going forward.
And also to hold off a guy like Johan Ferry, not an easy task.
No, I mean, Johan came in here this weekend with a lot of hype, local boy, a lot of people expecting a lot from him, and it didn't really work for them this weekend. They did have their own problems. But I think a third place will make him happy with the day's result.
But Michael Steven, 2 wins again out of 3 today. He really is the class of the field.
He's the man to beat. That's the long and the short of it. So everyone else has a lot of work to do.
Another 2 victories for Michael Steven in the Sasol GTC Championship. Let's take a look at the latest points after Cape Town. Got a little bit of time now, Gary, before the next race. The guys have got to figure out some of those little problems. Hopefully they all come back firing in Killarney.
Yeah, they will. Their problems will be solved, and we're looking forward to the big one. Racing at the new Killarney, it's going to be epic.
23rd of October. Make sure you are there. Sasol GTC Championship at the brand new Killarney. We'll be there.